These two cards were quite popular at the time of release, with everyone going for the mid-range segment GPU, but as games have become more and more demanding, someone could wonder how do they hold up against the modern releases, and which one of them would be the better option for gaming nowadays. So this should be a very equal fight in terms of VRAM capacity, with both of them having 2 gigs of GDDR5 memory, but as you can see, the 660 has a wider memory bus, as well as a few hundred more shading units. So that could give it a slight edge over the R7 360, but there is only one way to find that out. First up is more of a CPU demanding game, but nevertheless always good to test out the graphical capabilities of a GPU. So Battlefield 5 runs pretty good on both of these cards, providing not very much difference between them. Overall making it maybe possible to turn the settings up to medium, but only if you don't mind around 30 FPS in such a fast-paced game. The zombie-based co-op shooter World War Z runs at 1080p with a 37 FPS average on the R7, but with 5 more frames on the GTX 660. So despite both of them providing quite playable results, the win here goes to the GTX GPU. Project Cars 3 is a very good looking game, and alongside of that, pretty well optimized too. So the frame rate stays pretty stable throughout the race, but yet again the Nvidia GPU gets the win by a slight margin of 6 FPS. 2018's Assassin's Creed Odyssey doesn't really look the best when the settings are turned all the way down, but that was the only way to make the cards play it at 1080p resolution, with playable frame rates. But it is quite a bit more playable on the GTX 660, so the win here definitely goes to the Nvidia GPU. To finish off today's benchmark list, the 2020 Mafia remake is by far the most demanding game of today, forcing the resolution down to 720p in order to get playable frame rates. So here the tides have turned into AMD's favor, with the R7 360 providing 9 FPS more than the Nvidia card. So finally the AMD GPU gets a win for today. One game that should be mentioned is Doom Eternal, which wasn't really possible to be benchmarked on the GTX 660. As even at 720p with the dynamic resolution scaling enabled, the card didn't provide even close to playable frame rates. But the R7 360 did pretty well, also with the dynamic resolution setting, but on 1080p. So this could be a driver related issue, or just that the Vulkan API works far better on AMD GPUs, especially on the newer generation. And of course, Doom Eternal generally works better on AMD's hardware, much better than on Nvidia's GPUs. Generally speaking, both of these cards did pretty well, but with the 660 giving 5 to 7 FPS more in return, which could maybe sometimes mean just about crossing the 30 FPS threshold. But on the other hand, the GTX card is getting pretty old, with the driver releases getting far less optimization, and with some games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla not even launching on the Kepler-based GPUs. So at the end, it is somewhat better performance-wise, but the R7 360 is 3 years younger, therefore getting better optimization as well as better API support. So if you're having a GTX 660 in your system, you should definitely not upgrade to a R7 360, but you should start to look for a newer GPU, as the older ones are slowly but surely getting cut off from the support of the developers.